Welcome to the Zero Breach Zone, the ultimate podcast dedicated to safeguarding K-12 schools from cyber threats and beyond.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Phil, your co-host guiding you through the intersection of cybersecurity and education.
Each episode, Phil and I will dive into conversations that matter, breaking down the latest cybersecurity challenges that schools face.
And we're not doing it alone. We'll be bringing some experts in the field from the EdTech world and beyond for interviews, getting their take on the most pressing issues.
Plus, every episode will wrap up with a recurring segment, The Parting Tool, where we'll share a top tip or tool that you can start using immediately to stay ahead of breaches, phishing, and everything in between.
So, welcome to the show. We're thrilled to have you here with us. Let's not just listen, but let's take some action. Connect with us on LinkedIn and other socials and join the conversation. Together, we can build a strong community dedicated to protecting our schools. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Zero Breach Zone. We are so happy to be back broadcasting live, Andy and myself. Andy, say hi.
Hello, Phil.
How you doing? So it's good to be here in the studio once again at the Zero Breach Zone. We have a very special guest today, Jennifer Womble, a longtime friend and really just an amazing person, amazing mentor to all things EdTech. If you don't know who Jen is, you're going to know who Jen is after our conversation today. But she is an amazing thought partner, leader, mentor in the EdTech world and education. And so we thought, man, we need to get her on the show. So welcome, Jennifer Womble.
Thank you, Phil and Andy. I'm so excited to be here. I'm honored because I think what you guys are doing, elevating the voice of the people responsible for technology in K-12 is so important. And these are some of the less discussed issues in the broader area. So I'm so happy you're elevating this conversation and bringing it to the forefront because it's never been any more important than it is right now.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for the endorsement. That's what we work hard to do here. So let's bring our listeners into Jennifer Womble, and tell us about your experience in education, but we'll obviously get into some of the great things you're doing now and just being a national change agent, if you will. But before you got into that part of it, how did you get started in education? Where are you coming from? Tell us about it.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you very much. So my story is a little bit unique, as is I was a non-college of ed person starting out in the teaching profession. So I did spend 18 years in a district as a teacher, a national board certified teacher teaching AP, and then working in the district with professional development and grant writing and technology. Throughout that time, one of my second hats that I always had was doing technology training. So whether in the summer or as a part-time job, I was working for Intel and College Board and ETS. Back in those days, it was a little bit different. Yeah. We were integrating the internet in our classrooms and doing a lot of credit retrieval programs and things of that sort. So my actual first presentation ever at FETC was in 1994. A long time, but I've always believed that we should be able to take the very best ideas in technology and scale them. And so in the world of business, that's pretty common. Like whatever the best ideas are, other companies gravitate to them and they scale them. But it seems like in education, we need to really work on amplifying voices. In 2010, I had the opportunity to come over to FETC. So I have been the conference chair for 15 years. It is flying by. But I've been super excited to be able to take the very best practices from around the country, bring them into a professional development format and share them with people from around the country. So the goal is to scale the best ideas. The same thing that we're wanting to emulate from the business world. We really want to emulate that in education because there are amazing things happening in districts across this country with technology. And so I really see my job as amplifying other people's voices, providing high quality professional development. I was super lucky to be the daughter of a teacher and also a person who was a networker. So my dad was actually one of the people who built the first computer in Florida in the 60s. And so for our state government. And so I've always had a little bit of techie and a little bit of education. So mixed together, EdTech is just my passion. And I think we're all on this mission to help students create a better future. And if we stay on that mission, technology is just a part of it. Eventually, we won't even say technology anymore. EdTech, it'll just be what we do, hopefully. And so I've been really good. Yes, it'll just be education, which is really what it is now, almost everywhere. So it's hard to separate that out sometimes, but I'm really fortunate to get to work with really the very best community that there is. The people in education are so dedicated to this kind of united mission. And so that's really what I'm trying to do every day.
I look at what you just described to me. I feel like is what I felt has been my job for a number of years, which is being a translator. I can speak geek speak, but I can also speak edu speak. I've talked about it on the show at different times, and I'm hearing that from you. I get the feeling that you are both literate in geek speak and ed speak.
100%. I can talk zeros and ones, but I can also talk pedagogy, but we can also talk andragogy. So how adults learn, how students learn, how tech people work. And it really is a part of what I do is really bringing all those voices together. And you're right. There is a little bit of translation that's needed, especially in a lot of district offices, because we see the CIO and the super, not everybody is speaking the same language and has the same priorities. That is a very good skill to have. And I think that's something we have to bring together. I feel really proud at our conference. There's 8 different tracks. And the goal is that people bring a team and they learn as a team in their different roles and look at products that can be more effective, but it will help their team to be stronger when they get back to campus too. So let's bring those people together in a way that we're all speaking the same language.
So for our listeners who may not know FETC or what that is, I remember it as being the Florida Educational Technology Conference. We had in Illinois, we had ICE conference, which we've had to change the name. It's IdeaCon now because ICE has different connotations now, but that became a problem. But now we have IdeaCon, which is a wonderful organization and all in EdTech. But and you said you had gotten started in 1994 with that. I didn't realize it went back that far. But now it's no longer just the Florida Educational Technology Conference. It's the
Future. Yeah. So we were actually established in 1981 by the Department of Education. Wow. So it was a Florida-based conference for the first 30 years. But when I came on board in 2010, we had a very large growing national audience and international audience. And we're really serving a broader community. So we pivoted, changed that F from Florida to Future, but we are always hosted in Florida. We just signed the contract for 2037. So we are positioned really intentionally in January each year. And the reason for that is the budget cycle. As you guys know very well, in that budget cycle, school boards by February have to have that draft plan done for the next year. So we want people in January to come and see what are the latest products, what's new to market, what are the updates, get a really fresh view of what's going to be available for that next school year and put those products in front of them, talk about the strategies needed. So they get implemented into their school's budget for that next cycle. So we're super intentional about always being in January, always being in Florida, easy access to get to, great pricing of hotels, all those kind of great things that Orlando Sunshine in January provide. But also the fact that we need to really provide content for every different kind of role that's in a school district that's tackling any technology issue. So whether it's safety and security of your school, whether it's implementing AI, whether it's looking at coaches or libraries, we're offering content across your entire school faculty.
Wow.
Yeah. And you mentioned that growing national and international presence. My memories, I only went to FETC for the first time this year. And first of all, I was blown away. But my previous relationship with it is the districts I've been in going back to around 2004 would traditionally send maybe 1 or 2 people per year to FETC. And I was never one of the people that kind of won that lottery. And so it was always I don't get to go this year. And it's built up such a great reputation of being just a go-to for all things EdTech, and just the time, the location, all the care that goes into preparation. It was really apparent to me as my first time this year.
Thank you, Andy. And I will tell you, so as part of that, I totally understand that. So there were years in my school too, if I wasn't a presenter, I had to get on that list to get to go. And there was a cycle of how many things you got to go to or when you got to go. So what's interesting is over the last few years, just through mentoring and collaborating with other ed tech directors, like we talked about IdeaCon and some of these other events, we have actually come together this year and created an alliance between several of the different state ed tech groups. So we have now the State Network Alliance. So we have NICE and we have Tennessee and we have MassQ, and we've all come together as an alliance to support each other And through that support, we're now helping a lot of the EdTech events in different states. So if this is the only time you get to come from your state, then we're going to support you with discounts to your state event, or we'll support you with discounts to a national event. And then we're going to take the best strategies from each of those conferences and elevate them at FETC and share them in an innovation showcase from the entire country. And then we're also having socials this year from every state event too. So a lot of times what people don't realize is that we got 3 million teachers in this country that need to learn how to integrate. They need to learn AI literacy. You need a broader network of groups to do this all together. Nobody can do this by themselves. So to lift all ships, right, we're really working to partner with all the state EdTech events and bring people together. And listen, if it's not this year, it'll be next year, it'll be in the future. Whenever you can make it to our event, we're glad, but we want you going somewhere learning, because at the end of the day, we want every kid to really get what's great of tech that improves their personal outcomes and the rest of their life. Wherever it happens is great, but we'd love to have you at FETC always.
I love that focus. I know Stephanie Crawford, who's the executive director of IdeaCon, I ran into her in the hallways at FETC this year and was so happy to see her. And then she and I started talking about ways to bridge Illinois and Florida together.
Yes.
And so it was a wonderful experience.
Exactly.
And I'm glad to hear that you're going to have socials and stuff. I think that'll be exciting. I'll promote it as much as I can here in Illinois for our folks. But the really cool thing this year at FETC was I noticed you had the Cybersecurity Pavilion. Of course, zero breach zone. We're striving that every district is a zero breach zone. And now you're providing tools and access to tools. You had CISA there, which was really cool to see their presence there. They had some really cool stickers from the back of my laptop too. But things like, have you been hacked, or don't click on that phishing link and things like that. But the really neat thing, not only to be able to see some of the tools that were at that pavilion, but then you also have the cybersecurity track now in FETC so that people like myself, CTOs and CIOs and folks can get the learning they need, see what's, like you said, the latest products that are out there, some of the latest trends, be able to talk with other folks across that are dealing with some of the same challenges across the country. I love that is an opportunity. And then they can walk into the vendor hall and see the tools that everybody was just talking about in the training session. And something else, I'm going to add one more thing before I stop this train of thought, and that is the convergence of both physical security and cybersecurity. And Andy and I have talked about that in other episodes, that we're seeing more and more of that happening. And those kinds of people need to be in the room together, because technology can help physical security, and physical security should have technology. So speak to us 100%. About how you made that happen at FETC.
Absolutely. So for about 3 years, we've been intentional in creating some content around what the greatest needs are of school districts. So through our magazine, District Administration, we are constantly surveying superintendents and district leaders about what their needs are. And then in partnership with COSIN, we're getting the surveys back from CIOs with direct information about here's what we need and here's what kind of training we need. So we started with a partnership with cyber.org a few years ago with the idea that teachers and principals need to understand cybersecurity just as much as our CIO, right? Every kid who's logging in, everybody who's touching a computer, they need to understand the parameters. So we started offering workshops in partnership with them about 3 years ago. So that grew into last year, we offered an IT summit. And the IT summit was 3 hours, really condensed, intense information for IT directors about very specific needs at that moment, right? Leadership needs. How do we fill gaps in our staff? What are we doing with AI? What are we doing with all these different things that are being thrown at you at rapid speed? So that was a really great way to build community. The afternoon session is a brand new thing we started last year, was our Safety and Security Summit. And that is focusing on the physical security, which you're exactly right, is all tempered through technology now. So the camera systems, the door lock systems, all of that is connected to your internet and your network. And the facilities directors are coming together with the IT team and creating these solutions. Everything, from now, Raptor is now connected to your screens, right? And so when there's something on campus, it can show up on every screen in the classroom. And so there's all these amazing technologies that we could be leveraging. Some people aren't, some are not yet. Some don't even realize that potential is there, right?
Yeah, right.
So we're like, let's do that. So The IT Summit and the Safety and Security Summit, huge success, lots of great learning, voices being heard, and a lot of those connections are happening. And you're exactly right. We want people then to be able to go to the expo hall and see all these products. So we created a cybersecurity pavilion. So that is supposed to be like one-stop shopping. So let's make this easier for people who are CIOs, CTOs. Let's put the people together in one area so you can find them easily and go from one to the other and like really have deeper conversations about what their tools are, how they can help with everything from phishing and text. Of course, I have to say, my favorite, here we go, put everybody together and say, let's make it easy for CIOs to find the things they need. And so that was one of the major goals, that we were taking the feedback from IT directors and what they really wanted. What's super interesting is that's grown. Now everybody's, we want a pavilion for this. And we want So it did make it a lot easier. And there has been a lot of growth in that field. I'll also say really hand select our featured speakers that are talking to CIOs. Every year it's people who've already had a cyber attack and who can talk about that. Sandra last year did a great job. Those rooms were packed. People wanted to hear, what do we do? How do we prepare? Who's a network? How can we connect? Having very strategic leaders in the room saying, here are the things you can do to prepare, giving resources, giving guidance, and also just being that constant contact. Hey, you can reach out to me. And building your network of other IT leaders around the country, I think is really essential. So this year, we are repeating all of those things. So we want to make sure your staff is getting cyber training. And that's for every different kind of registration type. And then, of course, the IT Summit, Safety and Security Summit, Cyber Pavilion, I think is almost full already. Lots of companies are super eager to get involved with that. As you know, these are complicated times with security. And we are the number one target. Education, those fresh Social Security numbers of children who've never bought cars.
Right.
Definitely a target, right? So how do we keep those children safe? Student privacy continues to be an issue in every district in America. We're definitely going to see some expanded reach of all of those programs this year. And I think we're also bringing in the CCRE. So Frankie will be there sharing how can we get more people involved in this program? How many more can we get through and get them trained? So we want to definitely support the efforts of other organizations who are trying to make sure that people have these special certifications, that they are actually then more capable of identifying threats and helping their staff.
We've had Frankie Jackson on, our listeners. That was one of our most listened episodes, if I remember correctly. But it's
she's
great.
Fantastic.
That's the other thing I love about FETC is you're bringing in the true movers and shakers and the true experts in the field. I think that is so important. And you've developed that network where you're seeing those same folks at other conferences as well, but one place, one-stop shop to be able to get access to top knowledge and the latest trends, if you will, too.
And I'll say there's a little key ingredient, which Phil knows because he's going to be a featured speaker next year, is that I really spend a lot of time with our speakers talking about building community. Like I really want people to come and speak who open their doors and share their resources throughout the year. Like I don't want it to be a one-time learning. Like these are the people that you'll see on webinars throughout the year. These are the people who are willing to share their resources throughout the year. These are the people like literally, if you have a breach, you can call them or email them. And we're really strategic about picking speakers that want to build community and who want to support you year round, not just stand up and tell how great their district is. We have huge districts from the LACOEs and Miami-Dade, and then we have small rural districts and what their needs and concerns are. So I'm actually really proud that across the spectrum, people can find other people to connect with. And hopefully they do see them throughout the year and stay connected throughout the year, because I want people to have that feeling of really coming to FETC and building community.
That willingness to share is one of the things that's really unique about education as a sector. So it's really great that anytime that you can tap into that, because I know that's my primary reason for going to conferences usually is just that people connection, less so going to the actual sessions, but more, I know I'm going to get to see Phil. I'm going to see all these people that I work with on projects, and then we bounce ideas back and forth and we collaborate. And so any avenue or venue for that is worthwhile, in my opinion.
And I have a favorite saying, and my saying is, it happens in the hallways.
Yes.
So like, I remember a few years ago when I was just talking like Andrew Marcinek, and he's like, oh, I'm going to be the CIO remote East Coast to West. And I was like, what are you doing? And you hear sometimes just in the hallways, the best ideas, or you leave a session with the person you sat next to and like, you keep talking and that builds. So one of the things that we've done, and I love that you said that, is this year at FETC, we provide lunch and a voucher each day you're there.
Yeah.
And we designate that time, and we basically block off the schedule and say, on Sunday when you're at Summits from 11 to 1 is lunchtime. Here's where you can take your voucher and go get lunch, sit with a colleague, have a conversation. And we carve out time for that because adult learners, we need that. We need some white space to reflect. We need to actually emulate and role model at FETC what good learning looked like for adults, but also to build those relationships, because really sometimes when you leave with strategies and business contacts, but the most important thing you can leave with are the relationships that you've built. And because those are going to stick with you. So we've designed every day, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we are giving lunch vouchers to our attendees to sit down and have a meal together and provide that space to make it easy and a kind of a piece of the experience. And we want you to plan for that. Like plan, hey, let's go plan to have lunch together and meet me here. And I think that is an essential ingredient of any kind of professional learning that you do. Sometimes it's a little bit harder to do at different events. So we're trying to make it easy. We're trying to just make that something that's part of your natural professional development. I really feel like it's important when you go to a reception that we give you a free drink. I feel like you should be treated professionally. You should be treated the same way we would treat doctors and lawyers at their conferences, right? So educators deserve that same respect. And so we've really designed a conference that we're trying to meet your human needs as well as your educational needs and be really cognizant of that in the design of the conference.
Your intentionality is very obvious when you're there, to the point of when Andy and I were actually recording in the vendor hall some of our our podcasts at FETC, and we realized, that's right, she has a marching band that runs through. And so we're telling our listeners while we're recording, you may hear a marching band coming down the hallway, and you would be correct. It is truly a marching band of students of all things, and not just a marching band, but a marching band of students. So I love the intentionality of bringing right in the forefront right there. Why are we all here together? Why are we talking about it? Because of our students. That's why we're all here together. And so you put that front and center. You always do. And it got me thinking right now, maybe we need to have some sessions on students' cybersecurity, getting the students' perspective on cybersecurity and what are some things that they are concerned about, and have maybe a roundtable or a panel of students talking with some of the cybersecurity folks as well. I've got my
It would be really
my
interesting to see what they even know about it.
Right.
Because I think they're the ones that are the most lucid about putting their information out there and not the level of awareness. Some of it is because they don't have as much to lose yet, right? I don't want them taking my mortgage and I don't want my credit score going up or lose my identity or whatever. So I think it would be really interesting to find out what they even know about it. And that's been part of the effort of the educationwithcyber.org, getting teachers down K through 8. Like one of our courses is literally just for teachers K-8. Because if we don't start understanding this message in a more severe way, there's no way. The job of an IT director or CIO in a district is so enormous. And so to try to do these things without the support of your faculty, staff, administrators, but also your parents and students.
Yes.
Like they need to know outside of school as well as school. This is a life skill to understand. And we've seen this in this level that's so important, especially with AI literacy, because you can't just dump into AI all your hopes and dreams and personal information.
Right.
So, which we see them doing on Snapchat, TikTok. So I think you're exactly right. Having some students involved here, it would be really great. I know lots of school districts have been using students at their student help desk and in their tech desks and things, and the successful programs there that have gone on to be apprentices and internships.
Yes.
But I think this voice of cybersecurity in an age where it's so necessary is going to be really important. And the only place I actually have seen that is in Seattle when we went on the Coast and Field trip.
Yes.
And they had a cybersecurity team, and there's now cybersecurity challenges across the country that kids participate in as teams, just like you have an esports team or a football team. They have cybersecurity teams now. So that would be really interesting, I think, too, as a topic.
That's something we're going to have to talk about and see what we can put together.
Major career field. If we want to talk about CTE, that's a career people are going to need all day long.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We thinking about the kids too, where as our listeners know, we're sponsored by CyberNut. And when you tune into our podcast, there's a little commercial about CyberNut. We are actually rolling out CyberNut to our students, and maybe Andy already has. I'm not sure if you did. Okay, yeah. But we are this next school year, we've got the plan so that we will start doing phishing campaigns with our students. Of course, we're a high school district, so I feel pretty good about that. And these kids, like you said, you alluded to that they don't have anything to lose, but I think it's mostly because they don't know that they have anything to lose, but they actually do have a lot to lose. They just
Absolutely.
don't know it.
That's right. That's right. They don't know yet.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. And I know in the professional world, we use a program with our company where we're literally sent fake phishing attacks. And if you don't report it, it gives you a flag and it tells you. And then when you do report it, it lets you know, thank you, thank you. But I think it's important for adults. It's important for students. And they have gotten so sophisticated.
Yes.
And I know here we have these conversations all the time about the sophistication of the texting, and the hacking is coming in a lot of different directions now. So what does that look like? And then you're very open to it with a cell phone. That's a skill we need to teach students, especially since more of them are using wearables. They're using their phone.
Yes.
It's not always just laptop based or computer based, which sometimes is quite safer. But a lot of them are just not aware of what those even look like. And they're very sophisticated. I know we're all telling our parents and to want to protect our parents, but I think students need the same education.
Yeah. And the needle started to move a little over the past few years, but I know historically one of the challenges in cybersecurity in K-12 is convincing people that they're a target. And I know I've had tons of communication and conversations with educators who would say, okay, yes, I understand that you've got all these things in place and multi-factor authentication and everything, but why would someone want to hack me? I'm just a teacher. I'm just a lunch lady. I'm just a bus driver. And really, you mentioned earlier how education is that number one attack vector or sector that we're constantly just being barraged. And so I think students have that same feeling of, but I'm just a kid who's going to want to compromise me or my data. And so I think, making that transition to students is really mindful.
I will tell you that cyber attack national map is one of the most amazing, profound things you can share. When people see the actual cyber attacks that are happening across the country and where they're happening, it really opens your eyes. Yeah. And a lot of districts don't talk about it because you're under an insurance NDA and you can't tell the whole story. And so sometimes we don't. Luckily, there's people now who've come past that and can share those stories to help us with some prevention plans and things like that. But the reality is it's happening a lot everywhere. And there's a media piece to that. So not everybody wants to share when it's happening and how randomized they are, but it is happening at a very high rate. And I think people who share that map, it's really eye-opening about how many attacks are happening and really makes you realize cybersecurity is way more important than you think. And then also just telling people, okay, what kind of data does a school have? It's more than just students' names and addresses. And then why does that matter? And so I think that's really important. Just the basics of student privacy and data privacy are really important. And that is actually a skill our students need for the future. There's more and more data analysis, and those kind of data-enabled occupations are in high demand. So if we would have some richer conversations about the power of data, that might actually help in that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll put a link to the attack map in the show notes as well, so anyone can see it.
Yeah, I want to make sure we do that. Yeah. So, Jen, we really appreciate getting to know you today and getting to know a little bit more about all that FETC has to offer. And that's because of your leadership, your foresight to be able to bring the parties together to make something really impactful and powerful, but also something that's actually truly making a difference. Really appreciate learning that. We always have as part of our show, our listeners know we always try to have a parting tip at the end of our shows to whether it's a platform or an idea or a concept or an app of some sort. Stuff. You see so many things that are coming around.
It's a hard one.
And you're around the country all over the place, so you see so many things. Can you give it the one that you could think of?
Gosh, Sam Altman, he leaves a tip and everybody jumps on it. They're introducing new products next year for what that's going to be. I don't have anything quite that big. I'm going to say I am pretty much, getting a little bit addicted to you're wearing your AI glasses. My AI glasses are from Lucid, which is a Florida company. So I've been really digging into using these a lot with working because it's actually preventing me from opening so many tabs. Because I'll just ask it, what's last name? What is the address for this? And I find myself in conversation a lot. And that's been happening. But I will say Otis AI has been great too. That's a video clip. So it takes videos and puts it into clips for you, which has been really great. So
Otis.
we have monthly webinars. And so that's probably a better tip for people because we take our monthly webinars and create it into clips and can share it in a much more condensed and way. And that even has a free version that's fantastic.
How do you
But
spell that? How do you spell that Otis? Because there's several different Otises in the EdTech space, right?
oh gosh, here I gotta look it on my computer and I'll give you for the link for
All right.
the notes too.
All right.
And pull it up. But it is super helpful to be able to take videos and put it into clips automatically by
Yeah.
theme. And that's really great. So I think, and that one I got from Zandra because she was using that a lot with her school district
Awesome.
and breaking it up for social media clips. So a lot of times when you see stuff on LinkedIn, which I think, or Blue Sky or Twitter, wherever people are, you can grab people's attention a lot better with the video clips now. And Canva is great for that too, but it's AI driven, so it breaks it up for you. That's really helpful. So it is hard. Almost every day, you're right. There's something new and exciting, especially in the AI space. There's some really cool stuff coming out, but as far as usability, I think that's probably great. And I think we're going to see more and more AI glasses and wearables and how we can improve and streamline our lives with some of these tools is pretty amazing.
Yeah. I think you had mentioned to me in our previous conversation, because I have a heart for AR and VR. You said something that coming up in the next FETC, can we give our listeners a little
Oh,
peek?
yeah. This is the inside scoop. This is an inside scoop. We are going to be in the West Hall, which is really exciting because there's some different rooms. And one of them is this glassed in room. So it's kind of being in a fishbowl, which I'm super excited about. So we've partnered with Meta and a lot of their content providers. And all of the sessions that are in that room are going to be conducted in VR. So every single session throughout from Sunday to Wednesday is going to be in headset. So people will be in the room. There'll be an instructor in the middle. We'll have screens demonstrating to the people outside the glass who maybe don't get in the session or just want to take a look and see what does the future of education really look like. So everyone in there will be in the headset. So it's going to be a variety of content from the approved IBS providers through Meta. But so some of them will be conducting classes, like you can come into a science class and be in a class. So some of the people will get to see what does content look like. And then some of them will get to see what does it look like if I want to learn welding or what do we want to learn a skill. But we want people, I think one of the things that people need with technology is to experience it themselves. People need to sit there and say, if I was a student, what would this be like? So it's one thing to see something like one time or play a video game in a headset or something, but to actually have a learning experience and understand how is it that people learn 6 times faster in here, you're going to find out. You're going to have the experience yourself. So for 45 minutes, you're going to be in that session. There's going to be, I think, a total of 30 different sessions throughout the 4 days. The people can come in and have that just experience and decide what's happening. As VR is getting to be a lot easier to use in schools because you can buy a set of headsets. You can actually get the curriculum. It's not cardboard and a piece of a phone anymore. Now it's really amazing gear. And so Meta is bringing in the very best content providers. We are definitely going to have them there as well. But I think this is really exciting because we're not just talking about it. You're going to just experience it. So I think that's the best way to really engage with some of these things is to do it yourself and see, does this work? And so in Florida, we have the only VR school in America. So we have a full-time school where all the students learn through VR, and they are going to be conducting several of the classes there through Optima Ed. So I'm super excited to have them on board and see what does it look like to learn in this way. And they actually, it's really interesting. They have the highest test scores in the state.
I didn't know that part of it. Wow.
All kinds. It's definitely open to all students. So it's not special students or just the gifted kids or anything like that. So what's really interesting is it's hard for us if you've never learned that way before. If you went to a traditional K-12 school, sat in rows with a chalkboard, it's hard for you to imagine what it's like to learn in this way. So now you don't have to imagine it. Come and do it. Come and do it. Come and get the experience and see if that's and you can understand it better, right? And so I'm super excited. I'm really pumped about this learning space because it's something I haven't seen before. And people are really eager to try it out.
I see the passion. So you know that I'm working on my dissertation in this realm, and the theoretical framework, as it's called in the PhD world, theoretical framework for exactly what you're describing, it comes from Dr. David Kolb, who is the kind of the creator of experiential learning theory. So that's what a great opportunity to be able to experience. That's what he would say. He would say, you need to experience learning by experiencing it. And that's a great way to do that. Wow.
Well, as you know, some of these technologies have been too expensive or too out of touch or too difficult to use or not connected to the internet. Think of all of the things that have been in the way for a while. Now, with this explosion of devices and curriculum, and I will say, Meta is a company that really cares about education. This is really one of their number one initiatives. And they really they certify this curriculum. It is not just anybody can teach anything. So it is really an authentic learning experience. So I think it's all the right things have finally come together. And we see this with technology and that technology adoption, but all the right things are finally coming together for people to have these experiences and provide them to students in a really meaningful way.
For such a time as this, how about it? That is awesome. I so appreciate your time and that you've given to us and to our listeners here. Hopefully they'll be excited to sign up for FETC. I know that you've got, what is today the last day or coming up is?
Yeah, early bird is going on right now. So the earlier you register, the cheaper it is, right? That's the bottom line. Yep. So the earlier you get it, and I will also say the hotels are also already open. Yep. And so the reason that's important is because next year we're at the same time as the Sand and Surf Show and PGA.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be a hot demand for closed hotels. So I always tell people the earlier you can get your hotel selected, that's really important. And then the earlier you register, the cheaper it is. And so there's several different categories, right? You have unlimited, if you want as many workshops and summits as you want. There's Summit Plus, where you can go to summits and sessions, and then there's sessions only. So we also offer a variety that meet the needs of whatever you're doing, how many days you're going to be there. I am excited. We're starting on a Sunday this year. Yeah. So I'm calling it Sub-Free Sunday because it'll save you a little money. You won't need a sub on Sunday, but that's when all of our heavy content is, right? Those summits that we talked about, the workshops, but our expo floor will be Monday and Tuesday. And then we're going to have a hardcore learning day on Wednesday too. Super excited about this year. Really invite people to come and join us. So hopefully they'll all be at FETC and we'll be learning together.
That is awesome. Thank you very much. It's good to have you here. And as we like to say, thank you for helping schools become that zero
breach
zone.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Zero Breach Zone podcast. We hope our conversation left you feeling more informed and empowered to protect our K-12 schools from cyber threats.
A big shout out to our sponsor, Cybernut AI, for making this podcast possible. Cybernut is committed to providing security awareness training designed for schools, helping educators and students navigate the digital world with confidence.
If you want to learn more about how Cybernut can help strengthen your school's cybersecurity defenses, head over to their website, cybernut.com, and sign up for their training program. Together, we can create a safer online environment for everyone in our educational communities.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Connect with us on LinkedIn to join the conversation and help us build a strong community around cybersecurity and education.
Join us next time on the Zero Breach Zone for more insightful conversations. Stay vigilant, stay ahead, and let's keep our schools a
zero
breach
zone.